Hello again, my fellow Hylians and friends, and welcome back to another Crispy Kingdom video. You know, doing the research for my last video about the Zelda timeline really got me thinking. And by the way, if you haven't already seen my Zelda timeline video, I highly recommend you go check it out after you finish this one. Anyway, I've been thinking about Majora's Mask. You know that psychotic face covering that likes to wear you instead of you wearing it? I mean, all throughout popular media, we have seen a host of cursed objects like, for instance, the doll from Annabelle or the Horcruxes from the Harry Potter universe that bears some form of bad luck or malevolent presence that brings misfortune to whoever is unlucky enough to encounter them. Majora's Mask is no different in that regard, but one glaring difference between Majora's Mask and those other cursed objects is that we know who made them. So in today's video, I'm going to explore one of my personal theories on the origins of Majora's Mask, who created it, and what it was used for before it was stolen by and then ultimately possessed the mischievous Skull Kid. But before we do that, if you like what we do here and want to support the channel, please give the subscribe button and bell icon a big Master Sword pedestal plunge to never miss when a new video drops. Thank you in advance. This is who created the cursed mask of Majora. The namesake of a sorcerer or a monster. Just who was Majora? So, the first question that comes to my mind on our quest to answer who created Majora's Mask is just that. Just who the hell was Majora and what made him or her so powerful that they could devise a relic as powerful as the Majora Mask? To hopefully answer both of those questions, I will ask you to consider this. The ending from Ocarina of Time. If you haven't already played it yet, I'd ask you, what kind of Zelda fan are you? All jokes aside, at the very end of Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, if Link manages to defeat Ganondorf, he is sent back in time to his own time period by Zelda to inform the Hyrule royal family of Ganondorf's treachery, and ultimately get him arrested and imprisoned at the Arbiter's grounds, which is where we find him in Twilight Princess. And by the way, this all happened during the child timeline, which I discussed in my last video about the Zelda timeline, so if you missed it, you are definitely going to want to go and check it out after you finish this video. Link to it will be in the descriptions. Now back to business. Just for context, I will be showing you how Majora's Mask as well as Twilight Princess's storylines intersect so we can get a better understanding of who I believe Majora could have been. Several months after the Ganondorf threat had been resolved, Link leaves Hyrule on horseback in search of his missing fairy companion Navi and is attacked by the Skull Kid, who is wearing a mysterious mask. The Skull Kid robs Link of the Ocarina of Time as well as his horse Epona. So to get back his belongings, Link follows the Skull Kid into a magical tree knothole. Apparently there was a very deep pit inside the knothole, and Link falls down to the bottom of the tree where he confronts the Skull Kid, who uses his apparently newfound powers to curse Link into the form that of a Deku shrub, and then leaves. Link traverses the many obstacles of the tree using his new Deku shrub abilities, only to find another knothole with a dead shrub that has taken root and has a sad and sorrowful expression on its face. Now from the start, most who play Majora's Mask do not fully understand the significance of this dead shrub, but it is literally the first clue about the powers of Majora's Mask. Another example of the unique powers that Majora's Mask holds is, later in the game, we find a dying Zora which Link rescues from the water, and upon singing Link his final song, passes away, leaving the essence of his spirit in the form of a mask. So this is the second time we have seen this kind of thing happen, which confirms the powers at work here. Simply put, the Majora Mask has the power to take the soul essence of the deceased and transfer their attributes into a physical relic, i.e. a mask that allows the wearer to take on the likeness and abilities of the deceased. For all my fellow Bleach fans out there, you're gonna like this analogy. Well, it's kinda like the Vizard's transformation from Bleach, only less flashy. Just like the Vizard's transformation, the Majora Mask transformations are from a curse or possession that must be overcome in order to control the transformation at will. But what makes it different is that the curse of the Majora Mask is spread all over the entire land of Termina. Examples of this include the cursed scientist at the music house surrounded by the Gibdos, the restless souls surrounding the undead kingdom of Icona, and the Goron spirit haunting the icy mountain village surrounding the Snowhead region in Termina. I know I probably don't need to, but to drive this point home, according to the Happy Mask salesman, the Majora Mask is an ancient and powerful artifact that was used by an ancient tribe for their bewitching rituals, but its wicked power became too great, so they sealed the mask away before the tribe suddenly vanished. Now, this is just a personal theory of mine, but if you remember the Interlopers from Twilight Princess, they were an ancient tribe who existed during the era of chaos on the Zelda timeline, and excelled at magic before they suddenly vanished from the world like the ancient tribe mentioned in the Happy Mask Salesman story. So, I think it is fair to assume that Majora was one of the Interlopers. Only a tribe with exceptional power and abilities over magic could have made something as powerful as the Majora Mask. Secondly, the tribe would just suddenly vanish without a trace? Yes, this is quite a blatant suggestion that Majora may have been a member of the Interlopers. I can't say it's definitive, but there is a very strong correlation there. The similarities between the fused shadow and Majora's Mask. Mere coincidence? The land of Termina is a parallel world to Hyrule. Some in the fandom believe that it is merely a world created by a combination of evil within Majora's Mask and the Skull Kid's own memories and delusions. But if you ask me, I think Termina is a real place since alternate dimensions are quite commonplace in Zelda games, but what I do agree with is that the Majora Mask does seem to have the power to make one's anger, sorrow, and insecurities manifest into the tangible world as monsters and perilous calamities. Furthermore, the longer someone wears the mask, their personality starts to change, allowing the mask to take control of the wearer. For the most part, the mask stays dormant and slowly starts to influence the host, but just enough so that the host stays unaware. Majora's Mask functions kind of like a parasite in nature, as it extracts all of the negative thoughts and feelings of its host as sustenance until its own personality is fully awakened. This was seen when Link finally confronts the Skull Kid at the top of the clock tower on the final day. After the Skull Kid had lost the fight against Link, Majora had completely awakened and discarded the Skull Kid as it no longer needed a host to feed upon. I think it is this particular attribute that made Majora's Mask truly exceptionally powerful, but also what made it very dangerous to use, as it would eventually overwhelm the will of the wearer. And to support my belief, I will ask you to take a close look at the Majora Mask in comparison to the fused shadow. What's common about both artifacts is the similarity of the eyes. Just like in many real-life ancient tribes, you can almost always tell if a particular artifact came from a specific tribe by the common themes found on their relics or paintings. The eyes on Majora's Mask and the fused shadow look entirely too similar for this to be a mere coincidence. Also, if you look at the transformations that Majora's Mask undergoes during battle, particularly Majora's Incarnation and Majora's Wrath, the mask turns its spiky protrusions on its sides into flesh-like tendrils forming workable limbs and eyes. This is also true of the pliable plasma-like body that is formed when Midna uses the power of the fused shadow. The main difference is that the fused shadow did not seem to corrupt Midna as the Majora Mask did to its host. During the era of chaos, many tribes all around Hyrule warred fiercely for a chance to claim the sacred realm for themselves. The Interlopers stood above the rest with their superior use of magic though. So I think it was the Interlopers that devised the Majora Mask as their first tool to counteract their competitors and use it for their hexing rituals, since the entirety of Hyrule was at war over the Triforce. To their credit, Majora's Mask was certainly a very effective way of getting rid of their enemies, considering what it can do to living people as well as dead souls. But the fact that the mask is parasitic to the wearer and ultimately has a mind of its own made it unfit for use in prolonged war campaigns. So at the end of the day, using the Majora Mask was a double-edged sword at best and self-sacrifice at worst. Was the Majora Mask replaced with the fused shadow to establish the Interloper's primacy? Now this is a very interesting question. To answer that, I will direct your attention to what is already known about the Majora Mask and the fused shadow, as well as evaluate their similarities and differences. Let's start with the fused shadow. Like the Majora Mask, the dark power of the fused shadow has been shown to be able to corrupt weaker-willed creatures when in contact with them. One glaring difference between the Majora Mask and the fused shadow is that not only does the fused shadow corrupt the minds of any creature without the will or power to control it, it transforms their bodies into a monstrous form as well. Now this is just a theory of mine, but I believe this happens because unlike the Majora Mask, which has a mind of its own, the fused shadow has not shown any form of sentience. Although now that I think of it, I could be wrong in a way since the fused shadow does corrupt the mind of its host. I mean, look at the Goron Patriarch for instance. Once the fused shadow was separated from him, he awoke with no memory of what happened. So it could be that even though the fused shadow does not have sentience in the way that the Majora's Mask does, it may function like a virus or a parasite that influences the mind and transforms the body of the host to a form that is more likely to be able to protect the fused shadow. So from this we can surmise that the fused shadow is not merely a tool, but a corrupting fetish that can warp the body and mind of whoever encounters it that is not strong-willed enough to hold off its influence. For the most part, Midna seemed to have had complete control over it when she used its power, although she only used it for a short amount of time, so it is hard to say if its power would have had a more damaging effect on her had she used it for a longer duration of time. Although, I think it is more likely that since Midna has direct ancestry to the Dark Interlopers who created the Fused Shadow and founded the Twilight Royal family, the Fused Shadow could be utilized by her easier. Anyway, now that I've hopefully provided you with a better understanding of the similarities between the two artifacts, let's look at what makes the Fused Shadow different from the Majora Mask. While the Majora Mask concentrates the power that it siphons from its host into itself and transforms itself into whatever form it needs to fight its foes, the Fused Shadow influences and transforms a host's body to get the job done. This difference, in my opinion, is one of the main reasons why I think that the Interlopers discarded the Majora Mask and sealed it up, since it was too powerful to destroy, yet unfit to serve the purpose to which it was created, i.e. give the Interlopers an advantage over their enemies without destroying themselves in the process. A mask with free will and tremendous power that cursed everyone who encountered it did not turn out well for the ancient tribe of the Interlopers, just to reiterate what the Happy Mask salesman said about the Majora Mask. I think this is what led the Interlopers to create the Fused Shadow as a more perfected physical incarnation of their dark magic. I mean, think about it. The Fused Shadow being the perfected version of what they wanted the Majora Mask to be makes perfect sense. The Fused Shadow provided massive power that would give them a serious advantage over the many warring tribes who sought after the Sacred Realm, and ultimately the Triforce, but without having to worry about being possessed and discarded by a dangerous relic with a will of its own. As they say, sometimes for the sake of the mission, you have to go back to the drawing board and make a few updates, and that's what apparently the Interlopers did since the Majora Mask was sealed away and the Fused Shadow became the tool that they used to conquer the Sacred Realm, well, at least until they got banished to the Twilight Realm by the Spirits of Light. The Court's conclusion. And with that, guys, we've come to the end of yet another CBK video. The Interlopers were said to be some of the most accomplished magic wielders in Hylian history, at least throughout the era of chaos. It's no doubt in my mind that the Majora's Mask was most likely created by the Interlopers, especially when you take into consideration all of the information we were given by the Happy Mask salesman and the backstory of the Interlopers in Twilight Princess. Furthermore, the eyes on the Fused Shadow as well as Majora's Mask look so similar it's a dead giveaway. So as I said earlier in the video, I think these things are too glaring to be mere coincidences. Although I could be wrong, perhaps you might have a different opinion on that matter. Do you agree with me that the Majora's Mask was most likely created by the Interlopers, or do you think my theory is way off the mark? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Also, I want to give a big shout out to everyone who has recently subscribed to the channel, as well as all those who have joined Crispy Kingdom the Fellowship over on Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. I have so many great ideas and theories to share with you guys for the coming months, so if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to never miss when a new video drops. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day. This has been Chris of Crispy Kingdom. The council is dismissed.